So just a few.
Now, going back to the Arts Council, in some ways it was a failure. When we first grabbed this building, we had the police house next door, and the idea was to provide a workshop and a residency for a visiting artist of whatever, so they could stay, teach and do whatever. And this would be for the whole range of the arts, so, you know, music, theatre, etc. A friend of ours who was a member of the Arts Society, shall we say, snuck in without consultation, got permission to grab the building, and really kind of halved what we had planned to do with the Arts Council at the beginning. And then later on, when we were established, we invited all the different groups to have a representative on the council, and in all that time, not one local group joined the Arts Council. So we had to kind of revise what we were about. It just meant that until later, into the 90s really, that we could acquire funding for a theatre director. When we started the Beach Festival, we got funding for a professional theatre director and producer, come down, train up volunteers from the local community to put on a show on the beach, which they did, and it was fantastic. Not one person from the theatre group. In fact, I was down there putting some stuff down. In the old library was where they were training, and I saw a certain major theatrical person sneak in, and she was spying like this. I was standing there looking at it, and she didn't even hesitate. And I thought, and that happened more often than not. But I'll give you an idea of the sort of things that we had to cope with with the Beach Festival. I got the idea. Kerry originally had a go at having a talent quest on the old jetty that was blown away eventually, and it was very successful. So I thought, yeah, it'd be marvellous to have something happening on the beach. So we got it together, had all these different aspects of it. We invited the local shopkeepers to participate. Oh no, what do you know about running anything? Business? You know, we're business people. So we asked the restaurant down there, look, we're going to have thousands of people here. Put out an extra stall. No, in fact, not only that, but no other stall can have sell food within 500 metres. So, because next year they had a stall. And then at one stage I thought, I can hear music just around the corner. And I thought, what's going on? Because our music was starting. And I went around the corner, and a religious group had found out we were going to have the Beach Festival during the year. They booked a spot, and they had a stage and everything. I went over there and pulled out their plug. And then when I went back, I saw there's two clowns, literally clowns, dressed up, running around with buckets collecting money. And I thought, We weren't, this is all free. We weren't collecting money. Those religious group had sent people around to collect money for their group. Out. And then I saw, there's another bloody clown. Again dressed up, and he was drunk. And he was just a local. But he was accosting people. And, so I had to shirt front him, do Abbott, and finally got rid of him, and then we had a local circus person, and we also had a proper circus troupe, or two of them, one to perform for the adults and another for children to learn some tricks. And they were in the park there. And this local circus person decided he'd been hard done by. So he chucked a whoopee, knocked over a few trestles, got in his vehicle, dragged through the park, leaving, turned up grass. And that was the other side of. But anyway, it was hugely successful, and I think one form or other of the Beach Festival ran for another 10 years, I think. Although I backed out, but basically the two or three main organisers. I mean, we got no money for it, except we got some funding. We were spending half a year or more at our own cost, and we're lucky to get a little bit of money to pay for our petrol. And the same thing when we ran a summer school. People thought we were raking in heaps of money, Look, 80 bucks a person, and there's 30 classes that you join, and tot it up. And we got nothing. The teachers got the money if there was a class running, and in fact the whole idea was to provide some employment and money for auntie people who were, possibly seasonal workers, and around Christmas time didn't have any income to speak of, and so they got all the money, and we did all the work. But it was, again, it was hugely successful. We had people coming from interstate and overseas, and we had Japanese paper makers who were fantastic. Anyway, any questions that you want to ask?
Were you involved in the renovation that they had here in the 80s?
No, that I think what happened, not directly, we just let it happen. I think really the Shire realised, that whole period, everything was happening separately, but looking at it now, you can see, it's all connected. For instance, when it was a derelict building, there were only seasonal holiday makers 6 weeks of the year. But at that point, all our parents were retiring, and some of them were getting caravans, and they were coming into this town and region at times other than Christmas time. So suddenly you had a trickle of people coming all year. Now the Shire was pretty lax, thank goodness, because it allowed a lot of sins to happen. But they had no idea. They initially were against the whole idea of an art centre. Suddenly they realised, the old courthouse is really a tourist draw card. It's got the sort of things that ordinary people love, convict cells, etc., etc. And so I think that and we'll get money to renovate it, and that's what happened. So in doing that, when they restored the old stables and so on, you know, we were able to make workshops out of them for, and the whole idea there, again a failure, was to have a maximum of 2 years for any craftsperson or whatever. So that the idea was to give them a lift so they could then fly out with enough skill and nous to run their own little business. Now, not all of us were day to day. You know, we moved in and out of connection to what was happening. So we had one chap who was a stained glass fellow, and he ended up being there about 10 years or more. We had to fight to get him out, and then he tried to sell it as a business. So you know, if we hadn't cottoned on to this, it could be that we'd wake up one morning, there's someone in there running a business. Anyway, but all that's settled down now, of course. But I think.